Disrespect never explodes into existence with fireworks. It begins softly, almost invisible, creeping in through a crooked smile, an offhand remark, a half-hidden tone that cuts just enough to test your awareness. If you wave it off even once, you have already surrendered something precious. Too many people convince themselves that ignoring it will make it vanish, that brushing it away is maturity. Yet history's sharpest observers, from Machiavelli to countless rulers, knew better. They recognized that respect does not arrive by chance, nor does it linger because of kindness. Respect is held in place by force, whether subtle or overt. When someone undermines you, they are not merely poking at your feelings. They are probing the boundaries of your power, gauging whether you are someone to tread lightly around or someone safe to trample. Each time you permit it to slide past without response, you teach them the answer they were hoping for, that you are harmless, predictable, and safe to treat without regard. I have spent years dissecting the invisible mechanisms of power that govern everyday life, and the sobering truth is this: those who find themselves constantly stepped on are not always weaker or less capable, but they often fail to perceive that interactions are contests cloaked as conversations. Many believe that kindness means enduring insults, that forgiveness equates to nobility, that turning away from provocation is proof of character. But in a world structured around limited resources, attention, and dominance, perpetual niceness operates as a beacon for predators. It signals to manipulators, bullies, and opportunists that you pose no threat, that your boundaries are soft clay waiting to be reshaped. The result is that predators sharpen their teeth on you precisely because they know you will not bite back. Today we are plunging into the methods that invert this dynamic. This is not about angry outbursts or losing your self-control. It is about deliberate authority, an aura that makes others hesitate before crossing lines. It is about cultivating a presence so steady that challenges against you create discomfort in those who dare. What I will share are not comforting slogans meant to decorate your mindset, but hard-tested psychological tactics that function in practical environments. By the end of this exploration, you will see why measured silence unsettles people more than shouting, why unwavering repetition of your standards carves out dominance, and why true independence, needing nothing from anyone, projects an intimidation far greater than aggression ever could. You will also learn how to treat every insult not as an injury, but as a revelation of the other person's character, a gift of intelligence you can use to predict, control, and outmaneuver. This is not transformation into cruelty. It is transformation into someone who naturally commands deference without begging for it. Think for a moment. How many times have you left a conversation replaying every disrespectful comment you endured? Scripting clever comebacks in your imagination long after the chance had passed? How often has your chest burned with frustration while your tongue stayed tied, only for the memory to haunt you later? That pattern ends now. From this point forward, you will grasp the unseen architecture of disrespect, the way it moves like smoke, hard to catch but suffocating if allowed to fill a room. The mistake most people make is assuming disrespect is dramatic and obvious, like a punch square to the jaw. But intelligent adversaries know better than to reveal their blows openly. Real disrespect is serpentine, creeping quietly, disguised as humor, playful teasing, or harmless oversight. It is the colleague who talks over you mid-sentence, the friend who cloaks barbs as jokes then claims innocence, the relative who disregards your words with a dismissive shrug. The cycle always begins lightly. A playful insult here, a mocking remark there, often wrapped in laughter to camouflage the intent. They monitor your reaction closely. If you laugh along or dismiss it, they have collected data. You are safe to push further. Soon the comments sharpen. The interruptions become habitual. The exclusion grows deliberate. Each individual slight is small enough that confrontation feels disproportionate, yet together they weave a net of systematic belittlement. If you continue rationalizing it away, telling yourself you are being noble by rising above it, you unwittingly train others to see you as a vessel for their frustration. You become the receptacle where they dump aggression without fear of consequence. This script repeats endlessly in workplaces, families, friendships, and romances, eroding self-worth, derailing careers, and turning once confident people into husks. Machiavelli recognized this centuries ago. Society is built upon constant testing. People probe for weaknesses as naturally as predators stalk herds for the limping animal. He chronicled not ideal theories of morality, but the lived realities of power, how it is gained, how it is guarded, and how it is lost. The lesson most cannot stomach is that silence at the wrong moment is not maturity, it is complicity. To laugh with those who mock you is not good humor, it is permission. To forgive repeated slights just this once is not generosity, it is broadcasting that your standards are negotiable. Every time you let behavior pass unchecked, you sketch a blueprint that others will eagerly follow. And so the difference between those who are eternally stepped on and those who walk into rooms commanding attention has less to do with charm or luck than with awareness of these micro moments. Every exchange is a miniature battlefield. Each dialogue carries invisible power lines running underneath the words. Relationships naturally form hierarchies, and those hierarchies are forged not by single dramatic events but by thousands of micro decisions, glances, pauses, tones, and responses that accumulate into a structure of dominance or submission. Most people stumble blindly, reacting impulsively like checkers players jumping piece by piece, unable to see further than the current square. A minority play chess, thinking 5 moves ahead, orchestrating interactions that reinforce authority long before conflict arises. Today, you step into that game. The first weapon is silence, though not the silence of defeat. There is a fragile silence born of fear, when words fail and you shrink inward. And there is the crafted silence of strategy, which is chosen deliberately to place others off balance. When silence emerges from confusion or pain, you appear like prey frozen under a predator's stare. But when silence is wielded as a conscious tool, it becomes a scalpel, cutting deeper than argument. Imagine someone directing a sly insult toward you. Instead of rushing to justify yourself, explain, or retaliate, you hold your ground wordlessly. You fix your gaze upon them and let time stretch uncomfortably. The weight of that silence becomes unbearable for most. Their words, left hanging unchallenged, rot in the air. Anxiety gnaws at them. Did they cross a line? Are others judging? Have they revealed weakness? In that vacuum, guilt and uncertainty grow louder than any retort. Most cannot tolerate such quiet. They scramble to fill it with nervous chatter, forced laughter, or clumsy clarifications. But if you are comfortable inside that void, if you can remain unflinching while they squirm, you become dangerous in their perception. Dangerous not because you raised your voice, but because you became unreadable. And unpredictability inspires caution. Machiavelli warned that between being loved or feared, fear secures greater safety, for affection fades while caution remains. Strategic silence cultivates precisely that subtle fear, not terror of violence, but wariness of an opponent they cannot calculate. Picture yourself among peers when someone cracks a joke at your expense. Instead of playing along, you let the laughter echo into stillness while your expression stays neutral. Slowly the atmosphere shifts, the amusement falters. The joke teller realizes they stand alone. Without lifting a finger, you have redirected the spotlight back upon them. They may scramble to excuse themselves or even apologize, not because you demanded it, but because the silence forced them to face their own behavior. In that instant, the balance tilts in your favor. They approached expecting your compliance. You gave them a mirror instead. The mastery of silence lies in choosing it from strength, not from incapacity. It is not absence but pressure, not surrender but suspension. It is the loaded pause that holds the room in suspense. And because our age is saturated with noise, the one who knows when not to speak commands disproportionate influence. Train yourself with small pauses. When a careless remark comes your way, hold back the immediate reply. Let your eyes settle on the speaker. Feel the weight of stillness expand. You will be astonished at how rapidly people recalibrate their words around you. Your silence becomes a signal carved into their subconscious. Tread carefully. The second element is relentless consistency. Far too many imagine that setting a boundary once cements it forever. They enforce respect on Monday and assume it will carry into Friday. But human beings are opportunistic. Like water, they flow wherever resistance is weakest. If your walls have cracks, pressure will find them. If your standards are flexible, others will test until they collapse. Consistency means your responses are not seasonal, not based on mood or personal affection, but steady as stone. Each violation receives the same controlled answer, no matter who delivers it or how small the slight may seem. Those who maintain this uniformity quickly earn reputations that precede them. People know what to expect and shape their conduct accordingly. On the other hand, these Consistency must not live only in major showdowns. It has to patrol the smaller details that erode respect one grain at a time. The quick eye roll while you speak, the clipped voice that drips with dismissal, the deliberate shrug that says your words are weightless. Each tiny act receives the identical measured answer. Many view this as harsh because they are used to letting small cuts pass. In truth, it is kinder than the chaos created by guesswork. When people know your line never moves, they stop pushing to see where the boundary lies today. The result is clarity. Those who live by inconsistent rules build little storms around them. One day they collapse into silence, another they spark like dry tinder, and everyone steps carefully to avoid setting them off. A steady standard is easier for others to navigate. It removes confusion from the social map and turns friction into straightforward agreements about what is allowed. Begin with one behavior you have allowed to slip through. Select interruptions, or lateness, or sarcastic asides that gnaw at the edges of your time. Decide how you will respond every single time and then follow the plan without variation. You might pause and reclaim the floor when cut off. You might conclude a call that drifts into disrespect. You might leave a gathering early when lines are crossed. The specific method matters less than the consistency. Over a handful of encounters, the environment evolves. People notice that your tolerance is not a mood, it is a wall. They run into it more than once and they learn. Your calendar loosens, your conversations sharpen, and your presence stops being a place where others dump disorder for free. That is the quiet power of repetition. It replaces lectures with patterns that everyone can read. Now move to the response that separates ordinary from memorable. When someone steps on your dignity, a reaction that mirrors the size of the insult blends into the background noise of everyday conflict. A snide line met by a clever comeback becomes another skirmish forgotten by tomorrow. What lingers is the disproportionate result that is calm, precise, and unmistakable. A contemptuous joke met with stone stillness and removal of access. A chronic late arrival met with exclusion from future plans. A persistent critic met with a reduction of your availability that never gets explained, only enforced. The point is longevity. Your answer should echo longer than their offense. It should be something they recall at odd hours with a tug of unease. Not because you raged or pleaded, but because you changed the conditions of contact. Think of practical scenes. You are in a circle of colleagues. A remark lands on you like a slap wrapped in laughter. You do not banter back to recover social points. You look at the speaker without heat, and then you redirect your attention to the next useful voice, or you quietly step out and give your time to different company. Later, there is nothing to argue about because you did not create a debate. You created distance. Consider the friend who is always late. You stop organizing around them. When asked about the missing invitation, you answer with plain truth, that you assumed their other priorities would take the slot. The message is not a sermon. It is a map of cause and effect. They experience the cost of their pattern, not just your description of it. That texture is what teaches. There is a line often paraphrased from the old Florentine strategist about the safety found in being taken seriously. You do not need theatrical menace to achieve that. What you need is the habit of letting consequences do the talking. Ordinary rudeness repeats with ordinary replies. People classify those exchanges as noise and move on. A cold, measured, asymmetrical repercussion alters memory. It places you in a different category. The next time a spark of disrespect rises in their throat, the memory of past outcomes stands in the way like a closed gate. They hesitate. That pause is the dividend of your approach. It protects you without noise, and it protects the quality of your interactions with anyone who values standards. When someone talks over you in a meeting, you do not wrestle for attention. You stop contributing whenever that person dominates the room, yet you remain courteous and efficient. Over a series of meetings, the loss of your input becomes visible, and the group recognizes that overlapping you has a cost. When someone scoffs at your plans, you do not run a defense like a courtroom. You close the doors of your inner life to them. They no longer receive previews of your goals, not out of spite, but because they failed the trust test. When a relative pecks at your choices, you do not build a case file to win dinner table debates. You attend less, stay briefly, or choose different settings. There are no dramatic exits, only a steady reshaping of access. The weight of your choices speaks louder than any lecture about feelings. Your next layer is the image you broadcast before a single word is spoken. Actions set precedents, yet presence decides the starting position of every interaction. You want the atmosphere around you to carry a quiet message that testing you is inefficient. This is not snarling aggression. It is disciplined ease. The way your shoulders settle, the way your voice travels without hurry, the way you do not overreact to praise or criticism. People watch how you halt small slights without drama, how you never chase attention, how you let silence sit until others correct themselves. They file that information into a mental folder that reads, "Handle with care." That folder walks into the next room before you do, and your life grows easier because your reputation completes half the work. Selectivity is the lever that builds this aura. You stop handing out access like promotional flyers. You decide who earns warmth, who receives your time, who gets another chance. You do not justify these decisions with paragraphs because over-explaining invites negotiation. Boundaries that require debate are not boundaries, they are proposals. State the limit once, enforce it the same way every time, and allow the pattern to teach. When you face public disrespect, reply with a quick and cool adjustment. You cut the rope, you leave the stage, or you remove privileges. People should sense a faint tension when they consider poking at your limits, not because you are loud, but because your standards are known to have teeth. A steady presence becomes your signature. You are not euphoric on Monday and depleted on Tuesday without reason. You keep your rhythm consistent so that others cannot pull you into their chaos. The loudest person rarely sits at the center of real authority. Often the ones who do the most with the least motion run the room. Your goal is to join that category. Your timing, your captures of silence, your refusal to beg for attention, all of it adds up to a message that your attention is valuable and not freely available. People who thrive on drama drift away because there is no spark to feed on. People who value order align themselves with you because your steadiness makes every project and relationship cleaner. Reframing disrespect as intelligence is how you move from self-defense to strategy. Every slight contains data. Who throws shade after your victory reveals envy. Who pokes only when nobody is present reveals timidity. Who flatters in public and cuts in private reveals calculation. Who resists your boundaries reveals a dependence on your previous openness. Who fumes when you enforce standards reveals a preference for your old silence. Keep a quiet ledger. You do not need to announce it. You simply record patterns. Then you decide who gets proximity, who gets tasks, who gets secrets, and who gets distance. That inventory becomes a map for decisions that protect your time and multiply your results. Observe the office counterpart who never interrupts a superior, yet always slices through your speech. That behavior is a status play. It marks you as a step to stand on. You choose not to partner on work that requires trust. Watch the friend who jokes about your appearance while praising others. That is a sign of insecurity wrapped in familiarity. You stop presenting your wins for them to pick at. Note the relative who hammers your plans while cheering the same choices in someone else. That discrepancy exposes bias. You adjust expectations and stop seeking their approval. Notice the person who respects you only when you have leverage. Their loyalty belongs to position, not person. You stop counting on them when the weather turns. This shift dismantles the sting of the moment. You trade the question, "How could they?" for the recognition, "Now I see them." That turn frees you to act without resentment. Disrespect becomes an early warning device, not a verdict on your value. Many ignore the alarm because they hope good intentions will heal bad patterns. That habit keeps them in the blast zone. The wiser choice is to prioritize behavior over speeches. People are generally consistent. Small trespasses, if rewarded, grow legs. Minor boundary tests, if paid, become larger withdrawals. Treat each event as a forecast. Adjust your trust levels, like a skilled risk manager, not like a gambler praying for better luck. Understanding the psychology removes panic from the equation. Most disrespect is not about you, it is about the person using it to regulate their feelings or to rearrange the pecking order. Some aim to shrink you to soothe their insecurity. Some push to change the ranking in the room. Some lash out because fear of your growth makes them uncomfortable. Others act from habit because it worked on someone else. People who dish it out rarely manage it well when the mirror turns. When you remain calm, enforce limits, and deliver consequences without fireworks, their strategy stumbles. They wanted surrender or chaos. You give them neither. You give the... This approach also governs your emotional economy. You save energy for creation and progress rather than for debates that never end. You are not campaigning to be liked. You are not pleading to be seen. You are building conditions under which decent treatment is the only efficient option. Predatory personalities prefer easy targets, so they move on. Balanced people appreciate your structure and often raise their own standards in response. Over weeks and months, the fabric of your life changes. Invitations become cleaner. Conversations get sharper. Projects run with less friction because everyone who remains understands the rules, and those who refuse have already routed themselves elsewhere. Reputation compounds like interest. As you apply these principles, word travels without your help. People arrive primed to respect your time because someone else warned them that you do not tolerate waste. They skip the testing phase because they have heard it yields nothing. This does not turn you into a villain in the shadows. In healthy circles, it makes you the person others rely on when stakes are high. Clear boundaries are easier to work with than volatility. Teams perform better when standards are stable. Friends relax when they know honesty will not be punished and rudeness will not be ignored. Romantic partners flourish when expectations are communicated and consequences are real. There will be moments when old rhythms try to pull you back. An acquaintance will tug at nostalgia to win special treatment. A colleague will pressure you to let a small slight pass in the name of harmony. A relative will hint that family ties excuse contempt. Those are the tests that matter most. If you maintain the line when the pressure is strongest, you anchor the new reality. Each enforcement is a brick in a structure that supports every area of your life. You are not only stopping insults. You are building a container strong enough to hold your ambitions, your peace, and your relationships without leaks. Practice in low-risk settings until the muscle becomes natural. Use silence when someone tosses a careless barb. Use a simple sentence to mark a limit when a discussion veers into disrespect. Use absence to end patterns that refuse to change. Do not stage announcements. Do not create scenes. Do not bargain with your own standards. Keep the tools simple, repeat them often, and allow time to do what time does. Patterns teach better than speeches. People who can adjust will adjust. People who cannot will drift. Either outcome is a win for your future. Treat your time as a scarce resource. Place your attention behind a gate, not a revolving door. Invest where behavior earns it. Withdraw where conduct burns it. Refuse guilt as a lever others can pull. Refuse anger as a lever they want you to pull. Choose control over commentary, results over arguments, and distance over drama. The environment around you will align with those choices. Opportunities prefer clean terrain. Respect prefers stable ground. When you curate both, progress picks up speed without the drag of constant repair. Carry yourself as if you have nothing to prove because proof appears in outcomes. Let the rhythm of your work, your health, your learning, and your relationships signal that your standards are not an act. The quiet you keep will feel different to people, heavy with intent. They will speak more carefully. They will listen more quickly. They will remember the single time they tried to cross the line and met a locked door. Not because you bragged about the door, but because you closed it gently and left it closed. That is how you become the person who receives respect without asking. In the end, the method is simple, even if the practice is demanding. Read the small signs, respond with calm power, apply the same response every time, and shape access as your main lever. Build an image that whispers, "Not today." Gather intelligence from every breach and spend it on wiser decisions. Replace personal offense with strategic awareness. Exchange chaos for structure. As the months stack up, you will notice that disrespect does not disappear from the world, yet it circles around you rather than through you. Those who remain in your orbit are those who earn it. Your life becomes quieter, not because you made it small, but because you removed the noise that once drowned out your signal. That is how respect stops being a wish and becomes the natural climate that surrounds you.